Fear. Huh. Huh. What it isn't good for. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Fear. Huh. Horror. Boo. What it isn't good for. Absolutely nothing.
Gotta
Okay.
get the shoulders going. A little shoulder warm up.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome back, Fright Night friends, to Scary Movie Fright Night. If you don't know where you're at, then you're here at our show. What am I saying?
Yeah, who doesn't know where they're at?
I was thinking of it like welcome back, like we're a physical place for someone to drive up to.
Oh, right, like they're walking
Oh,
in.
if you're lost, if you're
Yeah.
lost, the next podcast is around the corner. But if you are here for Scary Movie Fright Night,
You're in the right
place.
place. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. What do you think everybody's doing right now while they're listening? How many people do you think are driving, going for a walk, taking
I
a
want to
shower?
say that 2% are taking a shower, 73% are driving a car. Wow, words hard. I think there's only a couple people walking, so it's like less than 1%. And I've forgotten the numbers now. I think we're up to 76-ish. So the other the other 24 are doing miscellaneous activities.
Don't mess up the math. Very important. How many of those people do you think are currently actively being haunted by a demon?
All of them.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
the demon named Sam. He comes around once a week. Comes around on Wednesdays every week.
Yeah.
And scares the bejesus out of him.
Fortunately for all of you, if you were being haunted by me, you would probably love it. You'd be like, haunt away. Just keep haunting me with all your terrible humor and really pointless stories.
Well, I feel like I mean, you text pretty regularly, and I feel like that's like being haunted by you.
Yeah.
And it's not so joyous.
Well, maybe I'll just
kidding.
make a guest appearance in your bedroom tonight, Chris, and we'll make it more joyous.
Okay. That's inappropriate, and my wife does not approve. Okay. So what I was saying at the beginning when I completely got off track because I was trying to figure out if you were pulling up and needed valet parking to our podcast is that this is the 13th episode and our season 1 finale.
Yay!
Man,
wow.
We've watched 13 episodes. So today we're talking about one of the movies that Sam didn't pick earlier in the season. Bad choice. But definitely a great way to wrap it up. We're watching Paranormal Activity.
This is Scary Movie Fright Night,
a new podcast about two guys who just watch scary movies. I'm Chris, and I love scary movies.
And I'm Sam, and I hate scary movies. My body just shook. Give me the heebie-jeebies. No, don't. All you have to do is stay inside in your bed, and then you won't get murdered. Okay. And now you have that recorded.
All right, everybody, here we go. It's time to break down Paranormal Activity. The theme for this last week was a very creative and made-up theme. It was movies that I wish Sam had picked earlier. We did quite an adventurous way for him to choose the movie. He had a box behind him on his shelf and opened it up, and there were seven titles in there, and the last one standing was Paranormal Activity. And so that's what we watched this week. Paranormal Activity was released in 2007, starring Katie Featherston and Micah. I'm going to get that wrong all episode. It looks like Micah, but it's definitely Mika.
It does. Yeah.
And they played themselves. Because they're real people. This was a true story. It was not just made to look like a true story. But before we get into that, and I really want to know what Sam thinks, because I have opinions. For those of you that didn't watch the movie, or maybe didn't see it since 2007, I'm going to do the new norm and do a super duper quick recap. Maybe less super duper quick. Maybe I'm going to do a moderately quick recap.
Do you want me to time it?
Go ahead and time it. Let's see how we do today.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to go for clarity and wittiness. Less so super speed to where when I listen back, I'm like, man, I don't even know what I was saying. So Sam, start the clock. The movie opens, and Mika, a day trader, Katie, a student who claims that a ghostly entity has haunted her since her youth, are a young couple who are engaged to be engaged, whatever that means. Katie suggested the ghost followed her into their current home, so Mika buys a video camera in hopes of capturing Paranormal Activity on film, a project that will ultimately only last 3 weeks. Spoiler alert. Attempting to communicate with their entity is strongly discouraged during a visit to their house by Dr. Fredericks, a psychic who assesses that they are being plagued by a demon which feeds off negative energy. Oh, by the way, he's not the right person to handle the job, so he leaves. He also recommends they contact a demonologist, but guess what? They're going to argue about it. They never contact the demonologist. Probably mistake number one. Each night, Mika leaves a video camera on the tripod in their bedroom to record whatever might be occurring while they sleep. They capture objects moving, lights, television switching on and off, sounds ranging from voices to growls to footsteps to thuds, and Mika does just what any of us would do and eggs on the damn demon like that's a good idea. Let's just tell the demon, hey, bring it on. No. Anyway, strange occurrences in the middle of the night soon evolve into Katie spending hours just standing by the bed staring at Mika like a creeper and going outside to sit in the backyard, none of which she would remember. All of this leads up to the scariest and most terrifying couple of nights, night 20 and 21. On night 20, Katie's forcibly dragged out of the bed down the hallway by an invisible force. Mika chases and wrestles her away, and Katie emerges from the struggle with a gruesome bite mark on her back. Mika said it wasn't him. I'm skeptical. Stressed and exhausted, the couple decide to go to a hotel room, but eventually she gets really sleepy and says, no, I want to stay, so they don't leave. Like, that's probably a good choice. That night, the final night, Katie once again awakes to stare at a sleeping Mika for several hours, goes down the stairs into the darkness, and begins screaming at the top of her lungs. Mika wakes up, runs to her, and the camera only sees the bedroom and the dark hallway as it records the sound of a struggle upon his arrival downstairs. Mika and Katie's screams are cut short, and the brief silence is heard following. Mika and Katie's screams are cut short, and a brief silence is heard, followed by screams of heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. And unexpectedly, Mika is hurled at the camera, knocking it over. Still filming, Katie slowly walks up into view, her face demonically contorted and her clothing covered in blood. She crouches to sniff Mika's lifeless body, then smiles at the camera before lunging toward it while I pee myself and the screen cuts to black. The ending title card says that Mika's body was discovered days later and Katie's whereabouts remain unknown. The end.
The end. And they all lived happily ever after. Well, some of them
And
lived.
everyone lived happy forever. She was just sad in the relationship, and her only way out was through the front door.
It's just like Danny in Midsommar.
Just like Danny,
kind
yeah.
of. Maybe a little different. So that was pretty good. About 2.5 minutes. Well done.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah,
This
I
plot
fumbled over a little bit.
This plot wasn't super complex. I can imagine
it was not.
There's not a lot of like nuance to get us through and explaining what was in the movie.
Yeah. It didn't have to be super complex because it really gripped onto the fear-inducing nighttime scenes.
Yes.
Which is why I likened this movie, and I think I did this in a previous episode, I'm just a math nerd, to a sine wave. It was very up at the nighttime, and it was very down in the daytime. Part of that is because it's an old movie. But like the old kind of gritty film from 2007 from the old handheld video camera. And at times I was even kind of bored, waiting for them to get back to the nighttime.
Me too.
But then at nighttime, I got the bass rumbling in my headphones and I'm like on the edge of my seat. But before we talk about me, we're not here to talk about me. Sam, what did you think about the movie? Yeah.
Okay, so let me set the scene for a minute. I did my best to get into it, but I chickened out a little bit. So let me tell you what I mean.
Okay.
I watched the movie alone in bed at nighttime with almost all of the lights off. I left one light on and I didn't use headphones. I was watching it on a computer.
Oh,
I know.
Headphones make it so much better.
I know. I listened to it through the computer speakers instead of putting on headphones, and I resisted. I'm sorry. And it's honestly, it's just because I was chickening out. That's the 100% reason.
Yeah, because you were scared.
Because I was legitimately scared going into it, and like in the tension, the suspense of we've talked about this before with some of the other movies, that sometimes the scariest thing is what you can't see or what you never 100%. See. So the whole time I'm just anticipating the first time that we get to the bedroom, night vision, you see the open hallway next to the bed, and I mean, before anything has happened, I'm just like, oh fuck, shit, like just like my heart rate was like going up, and I was like looking out the door, but I didn't want to look. I was like, "Look at them. No, look out the door. No, don't look out the door. Look what's over there in the shadows. Don't look at it." Like, I was
And then it's dark and you don't even know if you can see anything. You're like, "Do I see something?
yes,
Is there something? Is something
yes.
coming?"
Is something
Yeah.
somebody gonna come walk through? I started imagining. I started filling in the
Yep.
blanks, like, is those doors in the distance gonna close? Is somebody gonna walk by? Like, what are we gonna see? And obviously things do start happening, and so that starts to
Mhm.
fill in some of the blanks for you, but this one was quite
Yeah.
scary. This one
Yeah.
got me.
It I agree.
Yeah, it was tough.
I I agree that it got you. I super brave didn't scare me at all.
Oh,
Mm.
right.
Mm.
Okay, sure.
No, that's lies. Um, I so I mentioned it, right? The headphones. So because I watch this at night and Shelly's upstairs, and so I'm not trying to have the audio be super loud. Particularly when I used to watch like zombie movies, shows, or whatever, and you just zombie sounds would drift upstairs, and she's like, "Wear headphones, dude." Um, all I hear is zombies. I'm like trying to go to bed, falling asleep to the sounds of zombies. I'm like, okay, headphones. But but the rumbling of the bass every time night hit,
Yeah.
it's like a low rumble. And like you would normally hear it through your speakers, but I could hear it in my headphones so I could feel it. So
Ooh.
it just like set me up for
Did
fear,
you just see that?
right?
I just had chills.
Yeah, speaking of, so on night 20, the second to last night when she's dragged out of bed and dragged down the hallway, like I'm sitting downstairs, the fan's on, whatever, the overhead fan. And I was like, "Oh, did I just get chills?" I was like, "No, no, it must be cold in here. It must be cold in here." I like shrugged it off. I'm like, I didn't just get chills from watching this. Like I was freaked out. But then the last night happens. And like I know what was going to happen. I remembered the
You've
ending.
seen this
I of
before.
all the
Yeah.
things I saw a long time ago, right? 15 years ago. But I remembered how it ended. So it wasn't a surprise, but when he like that whole ending scene, it literally put my full body into chills. And I was like, this is crazy. This
Mhm.
like The Conjuring made me jump and it was like this it was the biggest scare of the season up to this point. But this movie like actually get like I had physical reaction. And then when I turned it off, I was like sat there for a minute in the dark and was like, I have to get up now. Like I left that
Yes.
it's what I talked about earlier, that creeped out feeling of like, and I got over it pretty quick. But like that moment of like, oh, let me look around the corner of this dark hallway as I'm about to walk through the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the same experience. So the final scene, there's the blood-curdling scream, which
Yep.
goes on for a long moment. She's out of view, he's out of view. Again, you can't see what's happening, so you that's part of the fear-inducing nature of the scene is you don't know
Yep.
so you're just having to fill in the blanks. And then the screams stop and it's silent, and then you hear the thumps like coming up the stairs, and I was like prepared for a jump scare. I was
Yeah.
like, I know something is going to happen. Something's going to jump out at me. I'm ready for
Right.
it. My body is tense. And when the scare happens and his body gets thrown at the camera, I was so prepared for it that I didn't jump. But
Okay.
after that happened, I felt there was like a roll of chills from my head down my
Yep.
entire body all the way down to my feet. Like those
Yeah.
chills coming over my body, I was like, fuck. That's so scary. That was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
scary. The only thing I think that was scarier than that final scene
Hmm.
was their 2007 home decor. Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. Touche. Touche.
Um,
I mean, but did any of us have good 2007 home decor? I don't even remember.
well, that's fair.
Uh,
That's a fair question.
I wasn't even born yet because I'm super young. That's a lie. Um, but no, that's so funny that we both had very similar reactions. For a movie that had such a low budget,
Mm.
uh, it had a $15,000 budget, was so well executed, right? And that it I mean, it did what it was supposed to do. It brought the fear. And it's exactly what you said. I have it here in my notes too. It's what you don't see that scares you. We said the same thing about The Conjuring, but at some point in The Conjuring, there was a transition when you kind of started to see things, and it wasn't bad after that point, but the scariness kind of came down. This movie, it never came down.
Mhm.
The first couple nights, not a lot's happening, right? A couple noises downstairs, but we're standing there, sitting there, watching the screen in the dark. We can't really see. You're looking into it, trying to see if you see something. I'm doing the same thing. You don't know what's going to happen. And then it's very gradual, the baby powder footsteps, like nothing big happens. And then the last two nights, it just like
Everything happens.
next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just like
Yeah.
slams it. So it like, and again, you never see it and you don't see it coming. And then when you finally see her possessed, it's for such a short period of time. There's no time to react. You see her and her face is contorted and she's like all down there sniffing his body. And then she comes up to the camera and like her face, whatever,
Yeah.
like morphs, and you're just like, and it goes by. You're left with that,
That's
and
it.
that's the end.
No credits,
Yeah,
no nothing.
as soon as you see it, it's over, and you're left. You're left like traumatized.
Yeah, I got up. I immediately got up, went to the living room, and got on Instagram. I was like, I need to escape this movie immediately. I didn't want to sit in it.
Yeah,
I didn't want to sit in the dark. Like, I needed to distract my brain. I think
yeah,
the what's so unique about this one is that they focused on the emphasis is on making it realistic. So
right.
it's a different type of storytelling. So yes, there's a little bit of like here, like introduction and like lead up to it, and there's a gradual um
Like building of tension.
build up. Yes, there's a gradual
Yeah, yeah,
build up till the final scene, but after that, there is no like. There's the one script at the end that says like his body was found by the police, whatever. But
right.
there's no closure. There's no like here's how things ended, here's how they wrapped up. It was just boom, that's it, it's done.
Yep.
Um, the point about it being like hyper realistic really got to me because to the point where I have a friend. I think I texted you
Yeah,
pictures of
you
my
sent me
buddy
an image
Clint.
of it. Yeah,
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 little shout out to my good pal Clint, who I think he looks just like the main actor, the main character in
yeah.
this
Mika.
movie, Mika.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even like there's like weird like a personality quirks. Like Clint plays guitar. He loves talking
Mhm.
about like day trading. Like
Oh,
it's
that's
very similar.
funny. That's weird.
The one thing in his defense though, and Clint's defense is I think the guy in the movie was kind of a jerk to his girlfriend because
Yeah,
he would ignore her requests and just kind of do whatever he want. And Clint is not like that. That's an
yeah.
area where they're different. But there was
Right.
just like I was like, oh, this could be a film that my friend Clint sent me. I mean, the guy dies
Yep.
at the end, so he couldn't have sent it. But
Well,
like,
true.
like, oh, I just took this on my phone and I'm just sending you. Look at this crazy shit that's happened. It just felt, not. It's like totally different from when we went to the movies for Evil Dead Rise, and you have
Oh
this,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Totally different experience, and that realism. I think that's what what the excitement was about when this movie came out, is because it was something different and new, much like Blair
Yeah.
Witch Project, right?
Yeah, I think that that's kind of the whole found footage thing, right? The whole like purpose or idea behind it is that it literally someone could be walking through or looking through an old storage unit and find this tape, right? Or some old, police investigation stash somewhere and find this tape that was on this camera when, when they found Mika's body, right? And they watched this video and it's, the scenes during the daytime being just kind of boring and like, you know what I mean? Like, but that's like
Yeah.
real. That's like
Yes.
real cam footage. Him like
Exactly.
him being like, "Hey, you want to make a movie?" And she's like, "No, I don't want to make a movie. Get out
Make
of
a
here." And
sex
then
movie.
he's like, "Oh, let me, yeah, make a sex tape. Hey, let me put this video camera down." She's like, that's not the standby light. That's, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
they could have. I mean, surely, of course, they're gonna play that up, but just all those little things, and like she's in the bathroom, like, and he's like, "Oh, open the door," just like stuff that's just kind of like not engaging, not exciting, and it's just makes it feel kind of real like that.
Yes. Yes.
And I think the Blair Witch does very similar. I look forward to at some point I'm going to get you watching that because that's a classic you have to watch for sure. But yeah, so a little bit of information I found about the found footage stuff, right? Because this movie came out in 2007. The Blair Witch came out in 1999, and I know Blair Witch kind of set the standard for that.
Oh, I
But
didn't
just a little
realize
bit of
Blair Witch was so much earlier.
yeah,
I
I
didn't
didn't
realize it was
either.
that old. Yeah.
I thought the Blair Witch was like post 2000s, but apparently not.
Hmm.
Which is interesting that it was 8 years later that this movie came out with such a not same feeling because the story is completely different, but made in the same fashion.
Yeah.
Um, but just a little bit of trivia about found footage films. I'm bringing the trivia, changing it up a little bit. But there was a controversial Italian horror film called Cannibal Holocaust in 1980, in which numerous real animals were actually slaughtered on screen. So it's almost like an animal snuff film, uh,
Oh,
right? Because so it's pretty disturbing, right? And
yeah.
obviously controversial. But that's often, I guess, considered to be the first found footage film because it's realistic, and so much so that it's grotesque, and animals were harmed in the making. But I guess, like, like the story there is that a professor stumbles across some lost film and it walking through a rainforest, right? And then they watch the video or something. Anyway, not watching it. And then interestingly enough, Orson Welles incorporated found footage techniques into some of his films, particularly The Other Side of the Wind. Prior to that, prior to 1980, but the film was unfinished and wasn't released until 2018. So the found footage thing wasn't completely non-existent prior to Blair Witch, but obviously when Blair Witch came out, the massive financial critical success, and also at that time with handheld video technology being more increasingly sophisticated and more developed, right, made that something that you could actually do. If you think about it, in 85, what are you carrying, a VHS camcorder through the woods, you know what I mean? So sure, you could do it, but around 2000, um you have more access to actual video cameras that you could carry around. But now there's
Yeah.
like more than 1,000 found footage films. Anyway, so it's interesting.
Wow.
Of course, most of them are horror films, as you would expect. I don't think they're doing a lot of found footage
Rom-com.
Disney princess
Yeah.
rom-com. We should do a found footage rom-com.
Oh, we
It's just
should.
like,
How would that
yeah, a
go?
guy. Yeah, well, okay, so guy goes on, pick your dating app, because they change throughout. So guy goes on dating app, meets a girl, and he's like, I am a video blogger. I blog my whole life, and she's like, cool, we meet. And so he brings his video camera everywhere. So it's like When Harry Met Sally, but he's carrying a video camera the whole time. I just don't know how it doesn't turn into a stalker story. Like, I'm trying to think through,
Yeah.
and she's
What
like,
what
oh,
if
it's so
she brings the camera?
oh, she brings the camera. She's a video blogger.
Yeah. She's an
Yep,
influencer
that
in the
changes it up.
wild.
Influencer in the wild, and she brings the camera, and then
I
we
feel
have to
like you
work
could
on it.
just I feel like you could piece together a rom-com movie just using
Yeah,
footage from TikTok and Instagram.
that's
Just
probably
take
true.
people's real footage and mash it into some
That's true. That's your
crazy
project.
story.
Before next season, that's your project.
Okay, can we do next season? Could it be like rom-com movie Fright Night? Which doesn't really make sense, but it doesn't have to make
Um,
sense.
that might be the next podcast we do. I don't know. That's kind of hard. Like, I had thought about like indie movie Fright Night, or like
Oh.
funny movie Fright Night is catchy, but
Oh.
rom com movie Fright Night, we could do it. It would be fun to break down rom coms. I
Yeah,
feel like the listenership may be a different group, but maybe people like
you
different
never
things.
know. Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
true. Maybe we should stick to our
yeah,
scary roots. Well, I
yeah,
think
yeah. I mean,
well, I was gonna come back to the making of this movie, because it's as I was watching it, I was wondering, you see him like with the camera, in the bathroom, so you can see in the mirror, like it's literally just like there's several scenes where you could see the camera that they're using.
yep,
But I was wondering like how they made this thing, and it turns out they made the entire thing on that like home video camera, one camera. There was no, I mean, they were filmed it like in a house, didn't have like fancy lighting or anything.
yeah,
Like it was made that way to create that effect. The
that's
script,
crazy.
it sounds like there was like an outline to the script,
Right.
but they gave these two actors like prompts and then had them improvise. So they basically knew like
Okay.
what needed to happen in the scene.
To
Uh
drive it forward, but
yes,
that it didn't feel rehearsed.
yes, it wasn't like here's your line, use these exact words. And I think you can
Right.
kind of see that. You could see the chemistry, and sometimes there's a little bit of like I don't know, stumbling over or like repeating
Yeah.
themselves, but it was all very natural.
Hmm.
This technique is apparently called retroscripting,
Hmm.
and they use it for Blair Witch too. We talked about Blair Witch.
Oh, yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes it feel more real.
Another
We
thing
should
that
retroscript our podcast.
maybe that's what we're doing. I don't know.
I feel like we're doing something similar, but we're not like producing a movie. But we have an
Yeah,
outline
yeah,
and we
yeah.
go through it. But
True.
no, no,
Well,
but
I think another thing that was crazy is the fact that they were both completely unknown actors. I think that was a very intentional
yeah.
choice, right?
Well, and that's
Imagine
the
if we'd
same.
had like two really well-known actors in this movie.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that they did with Blair Witch, right? And I think that
Mm,
I remember when that came out, people were like, "Is this real? Who are these people?" Like, I'm not going to spoil how it ends, but they're not all there, right? They're not all going to make it, as with this movie. And so, there was a lot of like, is this real? Like, what's going on? And then at some point, I remember they showed up on a talk show, and it was like, these are actors, right? You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it gives realism to it, because if you see Brad Pitt in a found footage film,
Yeah.
then either that budget was higher than 15,000, or either way, it's not going to be believable. But
It's
yeah,
like, when you go to the movies that you're watching a movie. You should know it's not real. And yet,
yeah,
because of the way this was presented, there's just enough uncanny valley
yep,
uncertainty for people to be like, "Wait a minute, is this a real documentary? Like, who
yeah,
are these people? Where did this come from?" It kind of makes me think of, this is like such a little nerdy fun fact about film, but I remember learning, I took like a film class or something in college, and I remember learning about, like, at the beginning of movie making, when they were
yeah,
first able to capture film and make movies. Someone
yeah,
took a camera and they recorded a train like approaching the camera, and that, like, I
hmm,
guess going like over the camera or something. It was basically like a perspective. Like, imagine if you're looking down the train tracks and the train is approaching you. And they played this
right, right,
video in a theater, and the moviegoers got freaked out. They thought it was real. They were like, "Oh my god, oh, the train's coming." And it's like, obviously, this is not real because you're sitting in a movie theater, not on a train
right, right,
track.
right.
But just that,
But
that
because
point,
they'd never seen it
they'd never
before,
seen it before. They never
it like
experienced that.
messed up their like, yeah,
Their
their
brains are like,
perception.
"There's a train coming." Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like VR, and like, and
Oh yeah.
the next level of 3D movie, or it's if you've never seen it before and you take yourself to that next level, it's
Yes.
shocking to the system. Your brain doesn't know how to process it. So
Have
it's
you ever
crazy.
done a virtual reality like game, like
I have.
simulation at an arcade?
I've I not in an arcade. I had a buddy when I was in grad school. He was big into VR, and so he had a whole setup at his house where he had like sensors in the room and stuff.
Oh
And so I went to
wow.
his house like once, and I checked it out, and I was playing like this archery game. It was super fun. But in that moment, I was like, "Oh, I want a VR system." I never bought one, but
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah,
Well, I have to tell you, I went to like a VR arcade with my brother in
a
LA.
V arcade. Sorry.
The arcade, yes.
Yeah.
And there was like this adventure where you're like, it was like Indiana Jones style thing, and you're
Hmm.
walking through the temple and you find this like magic pearl, and it was an actual object in real life that you pick up and you
Oh
hold,
wow.
but you can see it in the virtual
Yeah.
reality moving around. And my brother, dumbass, was like tossing it, and he dropped it on the ground, and the
Oh no.
software like wigged out and was like, "Oh," and like the pearl was just like floating in space in the simulation, and we were like, "Oh no, we broke it." But then this is important. This is relevant to our point
Yeah.
here. Is the end of the simulation, we're like standing on a floating biplane or something. We're like flying over this valley, and there's like beautiful views. And I turn around and I see my brother, because we could see each other. Like, we could
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
avatars of
The
each other
other.
in
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
simulation. He is standing on nothing. He has like stepped off of the platform in the simulation, and he's like, "Look at me, I'm floating." And he's like, "Come over here." And I'm standing in a fucking room inside of a building inside of Los Angeles. But in the
Yeah.
simulation, I am freaking out about stepping off of the platform that is flying hundreds of feet in the air. I literally like slowly inch my foot because my brain just couldn't figure. I know where I am. I know I'm not flying in the air, but my
Yeah.
brain was like, "Don't step off the platform, you'll fucking fall." So I was like slowly inching my way off of it. My brother's like,
Yeah.
"You're an idiot." It
That's
was
funny.
just
You were
so
like, well, if you
interesting.
wouldn't have dropped the damn pearl.
Yeah. We'd still have the pearl with us right now.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's crazy. I want to
What a
go to a
wild
VR
ride.
arcade.
A VR
I
arcade.
wonder if it still exists.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Yeah. How
Totally.
long ago was that?
I don't know, a couple years ago, maybe 3 or
Oh,
4 years
okay.
ago. But talk
Cool.
about a next level of like a horror thing. Doing like a
Yeah.
VR
Ooh.
experience, horror would be
Like a horror.
wild.
Yep.
Ooh.
Like VR, what you do is you do a combination of like VR and real, right? So the sounds and like the
Mm.
feeling and like things blowing on you and like
Ooh.
smells, like all the
Ooh.
senses. We should do it.
Oh, wow.
You'd be like, this isn't real. I'm not doing it. But
I'd pull off the camera like, "I'm not
yeah,
I don't wanna see
you'd
it."
like throw it at people and then walk out.
Yeah. Listen to this. So so they found these two unknown actors to be a part
Mhm.
of the movie, and I think this casting ad sounds so sketchy. The ad for the
You
movie
found the
asks,
actual casting ad?
well, no, but I just found like a description of it when I was reading
Okay,
about
okay.
how these two actors found the movie or
Yeah.
found the project. The casting ad asked for unknown actors with the ability to improvise who could work during the night without knowing what the next scene would entail. Like if I read
Yeah,
that,
that
I'd be
sounds
like,
sketchy.
I'll pass. Like, no
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah,
But I mean,
that's pretty
obviously,
sketchy.
it worked for them.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. You have to go in partially blind, right? Like, you can't if you know too much, then you have to be that much better at being able to, like, act it out and, kind of like, then you risk taking away that realism,
Right. Right. Because
which is
most
interesting.
most actors, I'm sure, if you decide to take on a project, work on a movie, is you get the whole script. You can read the whole script. You know what the writing is. You know what the story is. But in this case, it was like, we're gonna have you show up to a house in the middle of the night, and we'll let you know what you're gonna do when you get there.
Yeah,
Like, that
yeah, well,
sounds
and I wonder
terrifying.
if did they meet each other on they're like, "Hi, I'm Mika. Hi, I'm Katie. Okay, now just get in the bed. We're gonna turn the
Yeah,
lights down,
yeah.
and
And there's
then
a ghost in the room with
yeah,
you.
and then someone's gonna pull you out of bed and pull you down the hallway, and
Now I
it's
wonder how they did
fine,
that
it's fine."
effect. That was interesting to me. I wonder.
I was wondering if they maybe I mean, because I don't know what the technology was. Was it like, green screen, blue suit, whatever they do that, like, that they put people in whatever so they can take
Oh,
them out of the image? Or did they use some sort of like rope and pulley system where like something was tied around her ankle? I don't know. I'm curious. We could probably find it, but I definitely didn't see anything right off the bat.
yeah.
But honestly, the video was grainy enough that they probably had quite the capability to just like delete. I mean, 2007, surely they could just delete someone and set it up with like mirrors or something to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah.
But it did. It was creepy as all hell.
So you said there was a low budget, but
Mhm.
was the movie successful financially?
Oh, yeah, thanks for thanks for circling me back because I only
Yeah.
said half of the topic. No, yeah, so the budget was 15,000 and it brought in over 193 million
Whoa, whoa,
worldwide.
15,000 is how much they
Yep,
spent to produce this thing?
15,000 and it brought in 100 over because I didn't want to write all or say all the exact numbers, but over 193 million worldwide. That's
What?
crazy. That's
That is
insane.
crazy. I think I did read
Yeah,
somewhere and I ignored this because I was like, that can't be right. That one or both of the actors got paid like $500 upfront,
I was gonna
which
say
maybe it's like you get paid your $500, but then the movie made a lot of money. Hopefully, I'm sure they
right.
get a cut of that. But
Yeah, some sort
I
of
read that and I was like, that can't be right.
well, but if they're only making, if they contracted out beforehand and they're only going to spend 15,000 on the budget,
Yeah,
well, I mean, $500 or 1,000 for your two actors,
that's it.
that's a small chunk of your budget.
And I think they also
Um,
probably filmed it in a very, very short time frame.
oh, it seems like they would. It didn't seem like it would take a long time to film, especially
Yeah,
because you can't be doing multiple takes of some of this stuff. I
right.
mean, or at least in the spirit of the way that it sounds like they recorded it. Um, it doesn't seem like something they would be doing multiple takes. They would probably just take whatever they can get, unless someone completely came out of character or something, right? But
But so
um,
interesting that they named the characters after the actors. So there was no
yep,
like having to think about the person's name or whatever. You remember in Carrie when the real life mother of daughter,
yeah, and she
the
called her
mother
name
daughter, and
out.
she said the
Yeah,
wrong name. Yeah, when
yeah.
she reacted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's smart, right? That also gives it that realism of, the words at the end that say, "Oh, Mika's body was found and Katie was never found." And then you look up online and their names are the same and you're like, "Is
Yeah.
this real? Is this
Yeah.
real?"
Did I just buy a
Yeah.
movie ticket to go watch a police video?
I mean, I'm here for it. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, can you imagine watching that in theaters? Ooh, 2007? Man,
Mm,
I feel like
mm.
I missed out. I feel like the ending was well done. One other thing that I found in my, bit of trivia is that wasn't the original ending that was meant
Oh.
for the movie. Yeah,
Oh.
so very similar, but it a little bit different, and I don't know, it's hard to say, but it seems like it would be a little bit less gratifying. So at some point after Mika is dead, Katie comes back. No, no, no. After they go downstairs, Katie then comes up by herself into the bedroom alone, covered in blood and holding a large kitchen knife. She sits on the floor against the bed and just rocks back and forth. I assume they probably fast forward the clock like they did before, and she probably sits like that. The next day, Katie's friend Amber leaves a concerned message at 2 p.m., visits the house at 9 p.m., discovers Mika's body downstairs, and runs away in panic. What I don't know is, how do you capture that on the video camera? Because if the
Mm,
video camera's still upstairs, I don't know.
right,
Again,
right.
maybe they didn't even film this ending. And then 30 minutes later, two policemen enter the house, reach the bedroom where they find a possessed Katie with her knife. Seeing them, Katie suddenly returns to her normal state, asks about Mika. Then the attic door slams by itself, and one of the officers panics, shoots and kills her. The camera fades to black. Police officers continue searching the house. And the epilogue text just says something about being dedicated to the memory of Mika and Katie.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and so maybe they just show her sitting there, and you just hear her friend come in and say, Katie, are you here? Oh my God, Mika, right? And then you hear her run out. So that's how they did it, and that's probably would have been okay. But the spine tingling ending that you and I both experienced, like had she just been sitting there playing with a knife, it wouldn't have captured us the
Yeah,
same, I don't think.
yeah.
So
I
they made the
think
right choice.
yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, we're telling them this 15 years after they already know it. It's like,
Well done. Well
good
done.
job, you guys. Good pivot there. But I agree. I think the lack of closure
Hmm.
is, I think it worked.
Yep.
I think that like you leave the movie with just as many questions, like where's this girl going with her demon inside of her, and
Yep.
like is she permanently like this? I know there's some follow
Yeah.
on movies that I think she's
Right.
involved in, but yeah, I definitely had some questions. Yeah, how
Yeah.
long before the body gets discovered, and
Yeah, you just don't know. You're just
just
like
don't know.
left in that
Yeah.
moment with like that creepy scene like seared into your brain
I think we
until you get
saw
on
all that we
Instagram.
needed to see. I don't think we needed explanations. Like, I don't think we needed the bloody
100%.
knife. I don't think we needed her sitting there and continuing to rock. I think we got I think we hit the apex of the point. Like, we got there, and I think they did a good job of saying, and scene.
Yep. Well, and I think honestly, like I think that that's something missing from more horror films. Like that's not the only. I think I've seen it. I can think of at least one where I saw recently where you think that the end is kind of wrapping up and then you realize it's not, or something at the end. But I think so. Like The Conjuring. Now that was based off of Ed and Lorraine Warren's books and their case, and so they were wrapping that up in the way that it happened. We don't know how much it followed the exact storyline of their case, but that one, the movie itself, aside from the real parts of it, it wraps it up and gives you the conclusion. So I guess you can feel good when you walk out of the movie. But I'm also watching a horror film. So like she was possessed, she fought through it. You go, girl. Yeah, you win. Mom and family and kids, everyone's happy and they live happily ever after. But this one was a horror film and it brought it. And yeah, no regrets. I think it was well done.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy you picked this one.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
I have an
The en-
answer.
the entire time, I'll be really impressed if you have an answer. If you have a good answer, the entire time I was watching this movie, I'm trying to think like, what are you supposed to do? Basically,
Right.
anytime I'm watching one of these scary movies, I'm thinking like, okay, if I'm the main character and we're
Yeah.
trying to avoid death or whatever thing is coming, what are my options?
Yep.
In this case, it's like they made it very clear that the demon was not haunting the house; it was haunting
It
the
was haunting
girl.
her. Yep.
So that it's like, okay, well, you can move houses, but demons coming with you. Also, you mentioned, I'm gonna fact check you real quick. You mentioned in the super duper quick recap that they never called the
Yeah.
demonologist, but they did call the
I said they didn't get a
demonologist.
hold of him.
Oh, okay, okay, that is
I
factually true.
actually don't know what I said, but I
I
meant to say they didn't get a hold of
They
him.
didn't get a hold of him because they tried, but he was like out of the country. So
Well, they
then
waited too damn long. Anyway,
they
sorry. Go ahead.
did. Yeah, what the hell were they doing? So my question
Mika is
is,
dumb.
what would you do to survive? How would you handle this situation?
How would I handle it? Okay, am I Mika or am I Katie?
You are you. I guess the question, oh,
Okay.
you're
Okay.
saying,
Okay.
am I the one being possessed
Am
or
I
is
being
Shelley the
possessed
one
or
being
am
possessed?
am I the one being possessed or am
Hmm.
I the person supporting the one being possessed by bringing a Ouija board into the house like an asshole?
I guess I would, yeah, true. Come on, dude. I was identifying more with the guy and thinking about like, okay, if I were the
Like, what would
guy,
you do? Yeah, because it was kind of his perspective because he was holding the
right.
camera most of the time. Okay,
Yeah.
if I were the guy, rule number one: don't egg on the demon. Don't walk up and try to feel tough about yourself and be like, "What do you got?" I haven't seen you yet. Why don't you come out and show yourself? Why don't you show me what demons be doing? I don't know why he thought he was going to win against a demon. And then the demon like punches the glass with his face, and then
Ugh.
it burns the Ouija board. And then he's just like, you ain't got nothing on me, demon. First, rule number one, don't egg on the demon. Rule number two, call the stupid demonologist on day one. What did he say? He's like, I can handle it. I'm handling it. Okay, you're an idiot. You're not handling anything. It's a demon. What, unless you have like Super Saiyan abilities, or you have like Marvel, I don't know, like some sort of superpowers where you can transfer into a demon hunter, not happening. Call the demonologist. Rule number two. Demonologist comes out and says you're screwed. Rule number three,
Get the fuck
pray.
out.
I don't know.
Pray.
Get out. Go. Yeah. Oh, and
Yeah.
rule number four, these rules, I just made them up. Rule number four, get out of the house. I know that it's still in the house, but like when she's too sleepy to leave, and then she's like found on the ground, like squeezing the cross and blood every. No, just put her in the car.
Time to go.
Hey,
Time
hey,
to go.
we'll sleep here tonight. Let's go grab some Mickey D's down the road. I just want to hit the drive-through, and I'm just driving. We're going.
Yeah.
We're going to a cabin in the woods. Just kidding.
No,
Probably not where we're going. But we're going somewhere.
Where would
that's
you
not
go,
that house.
actually? Where would you go if the demon supposedly is following her?
I don't know, but guess what? I would have left that house before the last night, right? So at some point I'm like, well, let's just go to a hotel and check this out. Let's see what it feels like in a hotel. Is it different in the hotel? Yeah, I don't. Where do you go? You know, maybe do demons?
Church?
Church, one. Do maybe there aren't demons in Canada? I don't know. Maybe we go on a Canadian vacation.
No demons in Canada. They can't cross the border. They don't have passports.
Exactly. Demons don't have passports. Canada. Done. We figured it out. I'm going to
some
Canada.
church in
Head
Canada.
for the border. I'm going to look panicked. They're going to think I committed a crime, and I'm just going to be like, watch this video.
Oh gosh, what if they don't let you in because they're like, we don't want your demons?
Well, maybe they'll let. Well, if they let her in, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, just get her across the border.
Also, that's the next question. Do you like? It's night 21 and a half. Let's say that you somehow survive night 21 and you're not dead yet, and it's only getting worse day by day. When do you call it and be like, I'm done with this relationship?
Yeah. Oh boy.
And he's like, no. I mean, if you're ride or die, I mean, the word die is
that's part of that's in there. Yeah, till death do us parts.
Yeah, and maybe beyond, when we're haunted by demons in our grave.
I test Zach with that question every day. I'm like, how many of my demons can you handle?
Yeah, and he's like, not enough. And
not enough. More, bring on more demons. Yeah, that was the one scene when he made a comment to her about, you're the one who brought this in the house, that I was like, ooh, triggering. That is so rude.
Yeah. Also, he's the one egging it on. So
yes, he was taking such fascination with it and not taking it seriously when she was trying to warn him, because she has experienced this thing before. Yeah,
we're gonna leave him a negative review on TripAdvisor.
Yeah, we are.
I'm not staying at that Airbnb.
No, we are definitely not. Well, but it's gone. Maybe the demon. I mean, it's gone. Well,
that's true.
I was wondering if this were to happen to me, because we definitely have ghosts here in Hawaii, as we have, as you and I have determined.
Yeah, papaya ghosts.
Well, there's the friendly papaya ghost. There might be an avocado ghost too, actually. I need to update you on that later.
Okay. There's the ghost that fixes your AC.
There's the friendly AC ghost.
Yeah.
Very sexy.
The nice looking, AC ghost. Yeah.
Yes. But there are, remember, there's the Polly Lookout ghost.
Polly Lookout ghost.
To that podcast, talk about that. Anyway, where am I going with this? Oh, what I was wondering is, are there places you can go where you're safe from the ghost or the demon, I guess, in this case? Because, in the movie, they create this, it's like the bed is like the safe space. Well, it's not, it ends up not being the safe space.
And they just always sleep with the door open.
Yes. I think of the bed. I mean, this takes me back to like childhood, right? Where do you feel the most safe is in your bed. And it's also, I mean, the whole thing about the movie where it's like everything that happens at night while they're sleeping, when you're vulnerable. It's like where you thought you were safe, you're not safe anymore. You're just no more safety. Also, wait, quick side note. I have to make a comment about this because their bed arrangement. So one measly little wimpy sheet That's all
I
that
mean, maybe
they
it's hot.
I guess so. Listen, I
Maybe
sleep
it's hot.
with
But when they walked in one other time, they had all the comforters piled up in the corner.
yes, they
I
did.
noticed
Well,
that
you the
yeah,
first time that they turn down the bed to get in bed, they're taking off all their pillows and
yeah,
they take the entire comforter off and put it on the
yeah,
floor. I was like, "Who
yeah.
are is that what you do?"
Yeah, I don't sleep with comforter.
What?
No comfort for this man.
No.
That's my motto in life.
I have
Com-
listen, a demon
Comforter out. Get out of here.
no comfort for Chris?
I'm a one sheet wonder.
Oh
That's
my
what they.
god. Listen,
I'm
a demon
Sam.
would
I'm making all this up. I'm lying. Of
oh,
course, I don't throw the comforter on the ground.
oh,
Uh,
I was just believing every second of it. Well, if a
yeah, yeah.
demon came and tried to crawl in my bed,
Hmm.
he or she would have to pull up the comforter and then the blanket under the comforter and then the sheet under the blanket under the comforter. Like there's a lot of layers to go through to get in my bed.
Right.
So anyway,
That's really smart because if you pile on the sheets and the comforters and you're super sweaty and they grip onto your ankle, it might slip off and you
slip.
might be able to get away.
Yep.
It's called a sweat defense.
That's exactly the reason
Hmm.
I did it that way. Is just sweat defense from the demons.
Yep.
No, I forgot what my original point was. I think just that the bed is supposed to be like a safe space. Oh, I remember. So once that is taken away from you, it's like
Yep.
you can't even sleep here in safety. Where is safety? Where do you go? Like,
Yeah.
do you have to go to a crowded place? Will a demon not attack you if you're in a crowded place? Do you, if you're on the water, like go out on a boat in the water? Can demons go get you if you're surrounded by water? I mean, a church maybe? Would you be safe
S-
inside of a church? What are your
7-Eleven,
options?
like maybe getting a Popeyes chicken sandwich. Maybe Popeyes is a safe space. Maybe
Could
demons are
be.
afraid of fryers.
Yeah.
Like you
I
could
mean,
probably maybe a Chipotle.
Chipotle, probably
Demon free burrito
definitely.
zone. Yeah,
I've seen
I don't.
plenty of
Maybe I'm
demons
hungry.
in Whole Foods, so I don't.
That's well,
That's not a safe space from demons.
yeah. Well, not anymore. It's not.
Yeah, just kidding. I love Whole Foods. Sponsor us. Uh,
Brought to you
yeah.
by Whole Foods blackberries. Nothing, nothing, nothing scares away your demons like a nice old handful of Whole Foods blackberries. I don't know why I thought of blackberries. I could have picked a million items, but blackberries came to mind.
Does the salt thing work? You know, in Hocus Pocus, when they use the salt to ward off the
Hmm.
witches, does that work for
That's why.
demons?
That's why I oversalt my French fries because I don't want any French fry demons
Oh.
coming after me.
Oh, I
Yeah,
noticed
no,
when we came over
yeah,
for dinner that your food was very salty.
yeah. I'm gonna tell Shelly you said that.
I'm just kidding. Don't tell Joey said that.
Oh, she'll hear it.
Oh
This is
no,
staying
she
in.
will hear it.
Yeah, you're never invited again. No,
Oh no.
but I'm
I
getting
love you,
salty now.
Shelly.
Get it? No, but
Yeah.
I forgot what we were talking about. Oh, the salt thing, like in witches. Yeah, I mean, I think that like in witchcraft, salt is a thing, but I don't think that's the same thing as with like demonology.
Oh.
I think that's purely like a witchcraft thing. From
What
all
so I
my
wonder what it
studies of
is
witchcraft
then.
and wizardry. Hmm?
I wonder how
I don't know.
you repel demons.
I don't think you do.
Oh.
Holy water and faith. Holy
Oh.
water, faith, and a good book.
And
Yeah,
a good old
and
book.
a wood chipper.
And a wood chipper.
Yeah, if you throw yourself in the wood chipper, no more demon hauntings.
Wait a minute. I think that's counterproductive.
Well, is it though? I mean, you're not in pain anymore. Well,
Um,
it might hurt at first. Anyway, okay. So the big question then, is last episode we watched The Conjuring, and that was a 10 out of 10, and then you picked this one out of a hat. It was really a cardboard box. You picked this out of a hat,
the
and I
mystery
was like,
box was a
ooh.
really fun activity. I'm so glad that we did that.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Don't get your hopes up, but it might happen again someday in the next
Oh,
10 years. But we should post some images of
the
the
box.
mystery box
The-
for our
yeah,
listeners to
we'll do
see.
that. Go check
Or
it out on
maybe
Instagram.
we'll find some video clips or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, where does this fall? Is this like an 11 out of 10? I was thinking about this, and we can talk about this later. But post season, maybe we'll talk about it. But like, if you could re-rank a movie now that you've seen them all, would
Oh,
you?
yes. Yeah. Do a
We don't
little
need to go down that rabbit.
calibration of the
Yeah,
scary scale. That's fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't need to go into that today. But where does this one fall? What do you think about paranormal guys watching Paranormal Activity?
Okay. I'm very confident in my answer. I thought about this.
Okay. You
But
thought it's like you knew I was gonna ask. Weird.
yeah, I know, imagine that. But I'm gonna tell you my rationale for my answer before I give you my answer.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, the answer, it's a 1. This is a 1 on the scary scale. No, I'm just
I don't
kidding.
believe
It's
you.
not a
You're
1.
a liar.
No, it's so this was the first movie that gave me legitimate chills,
Yeah.
as we discussed. There was a couple of good jump scares, like
Yep.
when, and specifically the one that comes to mind is when she was sitting outside on outside on the swing, and then he hears noises, so he goes back inside, and he goes into the bed. The TV is on. That whole thing, I
Yep.
was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
He goes into the bedroom, turns around, and boom, there she is in the doorway. I
Yeah. She was.
literally
Yeah.
sitting alone in the bed, and I was like, oh god, I like jumped out of my skin.
Yeah.
And I think there was a couple others maybe. I think the hyper realism,
Yeah.
that we discussed, adds to the scariness effect. So this
Uh
one
huh.
was different from some of the other ones that I've rated high in that
Right.
there was less emotional fear. There wasn't like being
Yeah.
alone or like stranded in space, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It
Right.
was
This was like
just
fear. This was
just
just
raw
like
fear.
raw fear.
Raw fear. And you know what's so fascinating about this movie too, the point that I forgot to make is that there's no music.
Yeah.
There
No
was
score.
some sound effects, of course, with
Yeah.
like slamming doors and things, but
Sure.
there was no music to lead up to the tension. There obviously the dialogue was not super crafty. To your point, like some of the day footage was like fucking boring. So
Yeah.
it was just different. It was different from everything
Yeah.
that we've seen so far. This is a freaking 10.
10. Okay.
10 chili peppers, hot and
So then,
spicy, very scary.
so my next question. So I expected that just based on The Conjuring and both of our reactions after watching this. If you could go over 10,
Ooh.
would this be more than a 10?
I actually wanted to give it an 11, but I was like, I don't want to screw up our scale. But yes, I would give
I
this an
think
11. I
yeah.
would give
I
this one
think
an
that
11.
I think we keep an 11. I think that we set a 10 and you found what your high level was and
Yeah.
then we superseded it. Um
Well, let me ask you this question. So I have my reasons, but I'm curious what your reasons, if you think between The Conjuring and Paranormal Activity, do you agree that the rating, Paranormal Activity, scarier than The Conjuring? And if so, what makes it so?
so yes, and because I said so. No. So yes, so The Conjuring, great movie. The first half was scarier than the second half. I think I
Uh-huh.
even mentioned like that I had that discussion with one of my old friends who had mentioned The Conjuring before she knew that it was actually coming up on a list. The first half was a lot scarier. The freaky edge of your seat, like ooh, spookiness. She's locked in the cellar. The ball comes out of nowhere. The hands clap behind
Yep.
her, like
Yep.
to revisit all that stuff. It's a spooky feeling movie. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I haven't been assessing my own level of scare meter. Maybe I should have this whole time. But even The Conjuring, after it was over, didn't leave me feeling any certain kind of way. It left me like, oh, well done.
Mm.
I felt good about it. I'm like, oh, it got me. There was a couple times I was like, hell no. This one, again, like every time it was dark, you're sitting there in suspense and it just holds you in suspense. Sometimes stuff doesn't even really happen. Sometimes the door just moves and it just holds you in suspense. And that was good up through, the first 19 nights or whatever. I probably could have been like a little bit scarier on par with uh the Conjuring's first half, right? Of that, like, you don't know what's happening. The music box is going and you're like, what's happening? And they set you up for the scare and then you jump and you're like, ah. But that last couple nights where I had a physical reaction and it gave me chills that it actually was like spine tingling. That coupled with my feeling afterward, that's why to me, hands down. Because even though I thought The Conjuring was good and it held up, it didn't leave me feeling anything afterwards, and I definitely didn't have a physical reaction, an uncontrollable physical reaction, right? Like the chill thing when I felt it, on night 20 or whatever, and I was like, oh, I just got a chill. Oh, is it cold in here? And then when it happened at that last scene, and I was like, oh no, I'm legitimately having an uncontrollable physical reaction to this. Yeah, so that's why I 100% agree, and hands down, it makes it scarier than The Conjuring.
Nice. I
Yeah,
agree with everything you just said.
yeah. So
Yeah.
then, so then the answer is I don't know who the audience of this question is, but do you recommend it?
If you are not a scary movie fan,
Yeah.
don't watch this movie. Don't
What
watch it.
if, well, but what if you're Team Sam and you're here on the adventure to just kind of see? So, Evil Dead Rise, you loved the experience and it was like a 6, if I remember correctly. Do you leave this one saying it scared the crap out of me, but like I kind of liked it? Are you there yet or you're not there yet?
Okay, I brought this up earlier, and then I told you I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna bring this up because it's stupid, but now to answer your question, this is the perfect answer to the question. I
Yeah.
was just watching Jennifer Lawrence on Hot Ones, where you have to eat the
Yeah.
hot wings.
Yeah.
Eating the one wing that is so fucking hot that you're like, "Wait, am I gonna die right now?" And she's, like, crying, snot's coming out of her nose, and she's,
Yeah.
like, totally freaking out. That's what it's like to watch this movie. You can do it for the experience. Take a
Yeah.
bite out of that hot chicken wing if that's what you really want to do. But you
Yeah.
just need to know that while and it will pass, the feeling will go away. But as soon as you take a bite into that chicken wing, you have a little bit of pain that you're going to have to work through. And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm glad that I did it. I am brave and I am proud. And we just unpacked the entire thing. And you know what? I'm okay. I watched the movie. I'm not being haunted right now. I don't
Mhm.
think. So, like, I'm okay. And if you choose to watch it, you will be okay too. But it is a spicy, hot wing.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of glad. There's part of me, I mean, because I like to inflict fear upon others. No, but I'm kind of glad that now that I think about it, it could have gone either way, and you could have been like, actually, I'm kind of here for it. We've been watching scary movies, and like I've built up to this thing, and then we would have to change the whole theme of our podcast going into season 2, where Sam was a scary movie hater, and now he's kind of a liker sometimes. But you don't like the fear, you don't like the scare. You'll bite into the chicken wing because we started this adventure together and we're going down the path. Some of it you'll enjoy, some of it you won't, but I haven't made a believer out of you yet,
No,
which I think
sir.
is a good way to end the
The
season.
season. I'm embracing the challenge, but if I am sitting down to order food, I'm not going to choose the hot wings. I'm not going to choose the scary movie first.
Yeah.
But we're here and we're doing this. And I am really looking forward to doing a season 2 because there's so many movies that you proposed that we didn't get to watch. And
Yeah.
as I've been researching some of these movies that we did watch, I'm being exposed to others and I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, that sounds interesting." In fact, fun
There's so
fun
many.
fact about Paranormal Activity that I forgot to bring up earlier. I know we're like ready to wrap here, but this was a Bloomhouse. Is that how you say it? Blumhouse?
Blumhouse,
Bloomhouse?
Blumhouse,
Blumhouse,
Blum, Blum,
which
Blum.
includes a whole bunch of other movies. Megan is
A lot.
Blumhouse.
Yeah.
Get Out, Ma, all the Paranormal Activities, which there's a whole bunch of them. And I
Yep.
mean, the list. I was looking at their website. There's a ton of scary
A
movies
ton.
made
Yep.
by this studio. Where was I going with that? Oh, and there was one called They Them, which is a
Oh, I've heard of that one.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a story
I
of
haven't seen it.
like a gay conversion camp and then murders and
Yeah.
stuff start happening. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I would love
Yeah.
to watch that and just see what it's like and how it compares to the
Yeah.
other
I
things
have
that we've
that.
been watching."
That one's on my running list. It sounds like that's like a list I have while I run. But my ever expanding list of horror movies that I have to figure out how to incorporate later. There's so many though. Just this year alone, there's so many scary movies. I feel like they're making a resurgence. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention or not seeing them. But yeah, we have a lot of ground to cover. So, you know, 12 or 15 more seasons of this and I think we'll have a really good base to move forward from. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So, you know what? Thanks everybody for hanging out for the first 13 episodes of Scary Movie Fright Night and enjoying season 1 with us. I hope you enjoyed the ride. I know I did, and I'm looking forward to round 2.
We've come a long way, but and we hinted at this before, so it's not like it's a big surprise. But we will be releasing a bonus season wrap up episode
Yes.
where we're going to discuss the whole season. We're going to give Sam a virtual high five for making it this far. And then, we're even more importantly, we'll be giving out some recognition to the movies, the scenes, the the characters that just made it all possible in the first annual Scary Movie Fright Night season award show. I just made that name up. It's probably got an acronym or something that
I
we'll
wonder
figure out.
I wonder if this award show will be more like, say, the Oscars or more like the Dundies.
I think a bit of both. A
A
bit of
little bit of
both.
both, a little
And with
mix.
a little
Okay.
bit of Grammy musical performance baked in. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay,
think.
there we go. Good, good, good.
Yeah. So I'm looking
We'll
forward
have
to it.
some fun with it. Yes.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. Maybe not everyone here listened to all the episodes, so this will be a good opportunity to just get our take on the whole season,
Yeah.
Sam's thoughts, Sam's ratings on everything, and it'll be a good time to wrap up. Well, post season wrap up
Yeah.
before we move into what's next.
There we go.
So leave you with this. What was your favorite episode this season? Leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Let us know. What would you like to see more of next season? Well, while you're leaving that rating, put that in there as well. And this is a new one. If you want to submit a movie theme idea for us to incorporate into next season, go ahead and send us an email, scarymoviefrightnightpod@gmail.com. Again, scarymoviefrightnightpod@gmail.com. And be sure you use the subject line theme so that we know why you're emailing us. And then when we incorporate your theme, we'll give you a shout out.
I know that some of you have some ideas for movies and themes because some of you have told me directly, "Oh, you should do an episode on blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Hey, don't tell me. You got to tell Chris because he's the one who
Yeah,
brings the themes and the
I'm
movies."
the
So
the theme meister,
the
the dream
theme
theme
meister.
dreamer, dreamer. No, I'll come up with a good name. I have a whole season break to do it. But yeah, it's been a blast making season 1. We're already planning out what's coming next for some fun scares and next season. In the meantime, take a break, take some time for some self scare, and we'll be back before you know it.
Join us for our award ceremony. Most importantly, we're going to find out who wins the award for best podcast host.
Me.
Me.